So first of all, I want to thank the organizers, Leonard and Katrina, for inviting me, and Alan, thank you for reading such a rough draft. This is we just made a first pass on the data, so it's a really great opportunity for us to get comments. So let me start with just the research question. Can you hear me at the back? Is that okay? So the research question in this study is very simple. We want to know whether it is possible to use innovation in information communication technology, basically the idea of penetration of mobile phones in low-income countries to improve service delivery outcomes. So let me just preview what we do in the study. We are going to be looking at the effect of a platform that enables citizens to communicate service delivery problems to local government officials, and we're going to do it in the context of a low-income country. We're going to run the study in Uganda. This case management, this platform is quite sophisticated. It both allows citizens to send text messages to the district officials, and it opens up the district line ministry, whether it's water, whether it's health, whether it's education, as a case management system, where the messages that come in are anonymous. So the fact that we have a platform enables the district officials to see where things are coming in, on what types of topics and what types of issue over time. The system is relatively sophisticated in that respect. Thank you. The platform was introduced in 100 Ugandan villages using a field experimental research design. So we had also 100 villages that served as a control, and we collected over 2 years period both administrative data and original data that comes from. Thank you. I hate standing behind podiums. So we also collected original data using unannounced audits over this 2 years period. And though, as I'll demonstrate soon, the platform registered a relatively high uptake, it was used quite extensively, we don't find much evidence of a large effect on service delivery. So let me start with just a quick description of the theoretical framework that we have in mind, and then we're going to go into the design of the study. So the starting point is basically the idea that even though we went in many developing countries went through decentralization reforms and democratization reform, we still exhibit service delivery that is levels of service delivery that are very, very small or very low. And there's some reasons for it. So there's many reasons for that, and many papers about that. We're going to focus on the role of information. But I think one of the unique things about this paper or this project is that even though most studies of political accountability and government responsiveness are concentrated mostly on the lack of information in the hands of government, in the hands of citizens, in this project we take very seriously this idea that in low-income countries there might be also lack of information in the hands of government. Okay, so it might be that local government officials, not all of them want to shirk, not all of them rent seekers. There's a lot of good people in many many local governments, and I think that's, sometimes political economists we kind of forget that. We just need to go more to countries and interact with these district officials. But they know that in general there's problems out there, but they don't necessarily know exactly, what teacher never shows up, what nurses abuse. They might not know exactly where there's a stock-out problem in terms of medicine. Okay, so they might lack reliable, actionable information. Citizens, on the other hand, do have local knowledge. They know when a teacher abuses their son. They know when a doctor asks them to pay for a service that should be subsidized. But they have a hard time holding these service providers to account directly. So we know there's a lot of work that has been done on community monitoring. Some of the people in the room here, like Stuti, have written about this quite extensively. And we know that there's increasingly we're aware that even though we can form all these community monitoring program, there is a serious collective action problem that we have to come to terms with, and this is the idea that citizens have a hard time directly confronting frontline service providers, challenging the nurse and challenging the teacher when there might be social repercussions. Okay. There's another problem. Okay, so maybe they can't challenge them directly. Maybe they can report to government officials. The problem is that existing channels of political communication are relatively weak. So, in order for citizens to communicate with the district, many times they'll need to travel all the way to the district and report in person. It's costly, it's time-consuming, and also your identity might be revealed, and that again, raises the fear of retribution. Okay, so we're in a world in which citizens have information that government doesn't have, but the citizens also know that the government doesn't have this, very accurate information, because they know that the government don't really have this information. They don't have high expectations from the government to act. When the government knows that there's no high expectation, it doesn't give them strong incentive to go out there and seek this information, and we're in a low, we call that a low equilibrium. So the whole project is predicated on the idea that it might be that we can use the penetration of mobile technologies, real dramatic penetration of mobile technologies, to change this equilibrium and move to kind of a higher equilibrium. And why we think that this might be the case? So there's several reasons. The first thing is that you can design platforms that could allow people to make complaints in a way that the messages are free and anonymous. Okay, so and that's how we designed our platform. So think about like any 1-800 number where it doesn't cost you to send a message. But the most important thing is that when the messages go into the platform, they're anonymized. They're open only as a case number, and that is really important. And when we did focus groups with people before we launched the project, this is something that came up repeatedly, this importance of making sure that the platform like that are anonymous. Okay. Another advantage is like we know that people are not making complaints because it's costly, but they also have like lower frequency. They don't believe that government maybe will address it. These types of platforms where information can go both ways allows government, to the extent that they're responsive, to also signal responsiveness. You get a message about like a teacher, we can send back who's the teacher, what school, and signal that we care about, or the government can signal that they care. There might be ability, it's a bit difficult in the G2 world, in a generation 2 mobile phones, but as we move to G3 and G4, and people might have more access to the internet with a phone, it might be might be easier to create common knowledge, in a sense that not only I know what I sent and what I got a response, but also people can log into platforms and see what everyone is sending and what all the responses, and we think that is very important. The idea of a common knowledge is very important in the way we think about the platform. And the last thing I want to say is like the way we think about it is that platforms like these take advantage of the comparative advantage of citizens and governments. On the side, citizens have information, okay, but they don't necessarily, they don't have the power necessarily to enforce rules of conduct. Government has the capacity, we think, to enforce, or better position to enforce standards of service delivery, but don't always have the information. So that's the whole idea of these types of platforms. So we think about these as these types of community reporting platforms. We think that they have a potential of changing us or moving us to a better equilibrium, but obviously this arrow there's a lot of assumptions that we need to make, a lot of assumptions. So I'm going to just lay some of the assumptions that in order to have an effect, a lot of things need to be in place. So it needs to be the case that districts don't have information. Citizens need to actually use the system, and for them to use the system, they need to know how to use it. They need to believe on the other side there's a responsive government. So there's a lot of assumptions that need to be made. But even if they decide to send a message, the district may not have the resources, may not have the will. Okay, so there's a lot of assumptions that need to be made. There might be also a possibility that even if the government doesn't necessarily respond, just the fact that frontline service providers know that people can now report on them in an anonymous way, they might internalize that information, or they might internalize that and improve the effort that they put in providing services. Okay, so this is the way we're thinking about it, and what do we do? So we implement this platform in one district in northern Uganda, in West Nile. The district is the highest administrative level in Uganda, and it's responsible for delivery of services like health, education, and water. So this is the district. The platform was developed as part of a larger program that is called GAP. The program is funded by USAID. It was implemented by RTI, and the RTI basically had a local partner that implemented this platform. We launched in August 2014, and the project ran for about 2 years. And as I said, it was introduced in 100 villages using random assignment. Our unit of randomization, because we wanted to test the effect on health and education. Mostly, there's a lot of schools. There's fewer clinics. We used the health clinic as our unit of randomization. There are 48 health clinics in this district. What we did, the villages that are serviced by the health clinic create a cluster, and then we randomize 24 clusters to treatment and 24 clusters to control. Okay, so the black dots are the health clinics, and the villages around the health clinic all have the same treatment assignment. In terms of implementation, the NGO that we worked with put a lot of efforts in making sure that both the district knows how to use the platform and citizens are aware and know how to send messages. So there was an ongoing training of officials. We put there were two tablets in every line ministry, in the district health office, the district education office, where every time a message came in, it kind of popped. Okay, and we worked with them continuously to make sure that they know how to log into the platform and they know how to respond from within the platform. The NGO that we worked with also held community meetings in the 24 treatment clusters to introduce the platform, discuss service delivery standards, but also demonstrate to citizens that when they send a text message and when it opens on the other side in the platform, we wanted to demonstrate that it's anonymous, that there's only it only opens as a case number. In addition, in order to help create the common knowledge around what is being sent, what's being addressed, every 3 months the district held, together with the NGO facilitator, there were these dialogue meetings where representative of the district came to the treatment cluster, said, here's the messages that came in, here's something that we addressed. We didn't address this, maybe because we don't have the authority, maybe because we don't have the resources. We put it in next year development plan. But there was a dialogue over what they can and can't do, and that took place 3 times a year. In addition, our implementing partner did a registration of users within these treatment villages, where once they had the phone numbers, they were able to send periodic messages with kind of reminders. Hey, you can report about X and Y. Okay, so this is the implementation. How are we doing with time? Oh, I'm running. Okay, we can slow down. So good. So this figure shows the uptake of the platform, and this is my 3rd ICT and governance project. And compared to other platforms that we implemented, this is considered a very high uptake. Okay, we are talking about only 100 villages, and we got within like a year and a half over 10,000 messages. That's the red line. But not all of the messages were relevant, and not all the relevant messages were actionable. So these are examples of messages. Here you bridge. It's not much to do with that. This will be a relevant message. The tobacco farmers are miserable. What can you do to help? So it's clearly relevant and clearly associated that this is something that goes to the district that they can. But what exactly you can do with that? These are actionable messages. Okay, so unfortunately, we would have liked to see more actionable messages than what we saw. In terms of data collection, we look at three sectors. We look at health, education, and water. Health, we look at it at the facility level. Education, we look at it at the school level. We're focusing on primary schools. In terms of activities, as I said, we conducted unannounced audits in the health center that defines the cluster, but also in two schools within the cluster. Okay, so we have data on 48 health centers and something like close to, I think, 90 schools. And in addition, we collected administrative data in Arua, in the district health office and the education office, and the district officials were very involved in the sense of discussions with us about what do they believe is possible to change within the framework of the study. So we use that to also have to write a pre-analysis plan of the type of outcomes that we think could be affected by the program. We're going to be looking at three types of outcome: monitoring, effort, and input. So monitoring will be efforts. Monitoring will be actions that the district take to try to enforce rules of conduct by the facility level. So nurses should show up, that teachers, when they come, they actually teach. Effort is, again, at the facility level. This is, think about things like absenteeism, and if you come to a class, is the teacher present? Do they write on the board? Are they engage in teaching? And inputs could be anything like drug stockouts and supplies in schools. Okay. In terms of our estimation, because we have many indicators or many measures for each type of outcome, we do what is very common, which is create this family of indices as proposed by CLIN, aware of like KCFR, and there's a lot of studies that do use the same approach of creating a family of outcomes. And we run the following OLS. The estimation is looking at the outcome at, say, facility Y at cluster J at time T. This will be the treatment, and we have a baseline measure, so we add baseline measures, and we report with and without pre-specified set of controls. We also separate short-term outcomes and long-term outcomes. So the idea is outcomes after a year and after 2 years, and the idea was to see, it could be that it takes time till things kick in. It could be that you can't address problems immediately, but you put it in next year's plan. In this case, we might see larger effects in the second year, but there might be also novelty and a lot of people using it in the first year, and then it kind of dies out if the government is not responsive. So then, we would see maybe higher effects in the first year. So that's why we think it's important to separate. So I know that it's difficult to see regression tables. I will show. I will just point to the important outcomes to look at. This is short term. This is long term. We have coefficient, p-values, and confidence interval. The blue, the indices. Okay, so here's negative. This is in the wrong direction. These are monitoring of health, effort in health, input in health. The effect size is very small. Education, we see a bit more. There's a bit more action in education. Again, the monitoring index is not significant. The effort is at least at the 90%, but it's not very robust. Once we add control, it drops a bit below 90%. So we don't want to make too much out of that. And the input is also insignificant. These are all standardized coefficient, meaning in terms of effect, in terms of the in units of the control. So this will be 0.32 standard deviation effect. So that's a large effect. And the water is the one place where we find relatively large effect in parts and services falls slightly below significant. So why don't we find what we can account for these relatively disappointing effects? So this is we're at the stage. I mean, what Alan saw is a very rough draft. So this is now things that we're starting to address. And here's some possibilities and any suggestion of additional possibilities or how to look at some of these things are highly appreciated. So one thing we can definitely reject is that there's no underlying demand. People don't like you created a platform that nobody needs to use because they have other means. That is not the case. I mean, we know that because there was high usage, but also we had a lot of focus group. There was also survey data. I should have mentioned, suggesting that people care about the platform, wanted such platform, and used the relatively high usage of the platform. Okay. So we don't think that that's the case. Someone's like, this is so boring. Let's just turn off the light and let's go to it. Okay. One possibility is that messages were not actionable enough. And we think that there might be something there. Okay, so people would send messages saying, hey, teacher never shows up. The district would respond by saying, okay, we need a bit more information. Can you say the village? Can you name the school? And then the citizens don't respond back. We had some focus groups with people where they kind of freaked out when messages came back to them because they were like, oh, we thought that it's anonymous, and if they're texting me back, maybe they know who I am. And so we think that there's a lot that happens around this idea that every time the district reached out, not every time, but many times when the district tried to reach out, people were reluctant to share more information, suggesting that so much more needs to be done on the confidence in the anonymity of the platform. It might be that districts don't have the capacity to respond. It might be that they don't have the will to respond. In surveys that we had with citizens at Endline, 60% said that they got a response and they were happy with the response. So 80% got a response, which is really high. 60% said they were happy with the response. 40% said they were not happy with the response. So it's different. We're still thinking about ways of addressing that, but I think that's important. We may have failed to produce the common knowledge that is needed, to change the incentive structure, meaning that now citizens know that the government know, and the government knows that the citizens know that they know that there's more information about problems, and if they're not responding, people are upset because they now expect them to. Maybe we have failed to create this common knowledge that we think is very important, and obviously there's also the issue of statistical power. We knew going in that this is a relatively underpowered study. We think that it can't be the only explanation, because except for water, we don't see these really large coefficients that are insane. So in conclusion, we think that one of the important things about this project, even if the results are not as we were hoping for, is that we're shifting attention to not only the information in the hands of citizens, like so much of the accountability work, but thinking very seriously about what is the information that is in the hands of government officials. Okay, so we think that is an important step. We think that it's also an important paper in showing the underlying demand, that citizens value these types of platform and have interest in utilizing them in order to overcome a real collective action problem, which comes from not only the high cost of transportation, but mostly the social cost that comes from directly confronting a frontline service provider. So anonymity comes out as a clear. I can't stress enough how much this came up in focus groups, in surveys, in discussions with the government officials, discussions with citizens. Anonymity is key for community reporting platforms. And the last thing I want to say is 40% were not happy with the response of government. And for us, it also suggests that we need to think carefully about the way technology changes incentives, and not just think about technology as providing some easy fix of providing them more information. So if technology in its own right doesn't make non-responsive government responsive. So in order for that to happen, more things need to happen. For example, creating a common knowledge, changing expectation for government, changing the incentives of government to respond. And we think that this is also something important to highlight in this project. Okay. So I'm very looking forward for Alan's comments.
Thank you so much, guys.